It's, not one situation you want to get them to safety, but it's going to be hot on the paws of those animals that are over there as well. Again, too many things going on right now to try and get a really good understanding of what's happening with this propane fire that's over there. I mean, if a police officer's coming to us live on the air, stopping in front of us and saying, "You're filming at your own risk right now," that's just like the gravity of the situation. Part of me just wants to go over there and see how they're doing. The other part of me says, frankly, I just want to get further back. It's not exactly. I mean, we can hear the sirens have kind of stopped for now. Here's a fire hydrant that's a little active over by this Mesquite Tex-Mex spot. I mean, again, it's almost like in any direction that we turn, we're seeing some sort of new visual of how this fire is impacting just the immediate area. This is probably 1 or 2 blocks away from Sky Harbor, and it looks like planes are still landing. It's not really affecting them right now. It's something that we could check up on. But it's a really tough one for firefighters, and definitely for all these folks that are trying to evacuate. You can see some of those flames that were over there. That tree caught fire live on our air, but just like minutes ago when you took us here. But that's all the scene setter that I have for you right now as we're trying to piece all this together, guys.
Jordan, we appreciate that 360 perspective. As you're zoomed in there, too, those do look like vehicles that occasionally transport animals, and so perhaps that is what we're looking at just beyond you there right now. Obviously, this is a very dynamic situation. Firefighters, again, surrounding and drowning the flames right now. That is the strategy they are using. They are cycling these firefighters through their work here because of how intense these flames are, and incredible heat here, going on 5:30 and still 118 degrees out. And Faye, the biggest effect right here, other than just the smoke, is the projectiles, right? That's something that Phoenix Fire is really concerned about. So if you're in this area, please be safe. We saw Jordan somewhat close to a tank too. This has now gone to a second alarm fire. Okay, our coverage is going to continue on our streaming platforms right now. We will send you off to World News, but if there are any additional evacuations in this area, we will break back into programming. Okay. Probably get all the animals out of there. Are watching ABC15's continuing coverage of a massive fire at a propane storage facility near 40th Street and Washington in Phoenix. Thick black smoke pouring into the air right now. It is drifting to the east right now. Fire crews on the scene from multiple cities, multiple agencies, taking a defensive posture on this, meaning firefighters are not going directly into this because of the incredible danger with burning propane tanks. Our crews on the scene have heard those tanks exploding. They are taking a surround and drowned approach to this. We want to get right to our Fort Hatchett live on the scene. Fort?
Yeah, hey, the firefighters have been on the scene for a little over half an hour now, still battling these flames. You can see them. We've told you already that it's got a surround and drown mentality right now. They are putting water on this from every angle possible. We've we've kind of slowed and hearing some of those loud banging sounds that we think could be explosions or something inside that propane storage tank facility. But we have seen some other fires break out either on palm trees or just in the surrounding area. And again, this is right near Gateway Community College and an animal shelter. I mean, there's several things in the area that perhaps need to be evacuated. You can see firefighters, again, coming at this from every angle right now, trying to do what they can to put out these flames. And in these high temperatures, these firefighters only have a limited amount of air in their tanks. They are going to have to rotate very quickly to try to make sure everyone can stay fresh and have enough air and really keep themselves safe in this high heat.
Ford, we appreciate that. We do have reports of several damage in the area. We know that cars have been damaged at Sundance parking garage. We also want to get out to our Jordan Bonke, who is also very close to the scene, close to that animal welfare, where we know that some of those animals had to be carried out, Jordan.
Yeah, here's what I can show you right now. We just added a second ladder right here. And again, like you heard, surround and drown, just another added water source that's coming down on all this right now, trying to prevent perhaps other things from catching fire like we saw in a live shot just earlier, perhaps maybe 15 minutes ago. Here's an animal care facility there. When we approached this spot, this is near 40th Street in Washington, we saw some people carrying those four-legged family members out of that animal care facility, and that came over here. So I know that's going to be a priority for anybody who knows how to operate an animal care facility. This is what's getting darker and darker, these plumes of smoke, and you're even seeing some white smoke over there and some active flames on what looks to be another tank in that direction as well. These are really thick plumes of smoke that are stretching from around 40th Street in Washington and stretching now headed east towards 143 in that direction. This is something that's not too far from our office at all, and you can see how urgent it is from some of those people in the area. Earlier we heard from firefighters, and they had gotten on the loudspeaker and they're asking people in the area to evacuate. And if you didn't catch our live shot from earlier, a Phoenix firefighter rolled right up while we were on the air and just told us, hey, you're filming right now at your own risk. We are still a pretty safe distance away, several hundred yards if that. They've got fire extinguishers that are going off over here. We're trying to catch as much visuals and stay safe from all this as well, but it's got to be a blistering hot one for our fire crews. So think about them today and their safety. I'm going to send it back to you guys and see what else we can gather.
Yeah, and we have been putting calls into the Arizona Animal Welfare League, which is nearby, and we're trying to get some more information from them. At this point, they're not taking calls, and you could certainly understand why with the situation there on the ground. Want to get over to Chief Meteorologist Amber Stallings now, because Amber, one of the things we're tracking in addition to the flames is certainly the smoke and what direction the smoke is going in, the intensity of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're looking at that new video of the flames there, just absolutely incredible. When we first saw this break out, we saw it on one of our valley cams that we use to track the weather. The smoke plume was going straight up in the air at that point. Winds were light. Since this has began, we have seen a shift in the winds and an increase in the winds. And now, instead of this smoke plume going straight up, it is blowing straight to the east, and it is low to the ground right now, impacting people in that area, impacting the folks that are at the Arizona Animal Welfare League, taking those animals out, impacting anybody that's just walking down the street, and of course our fire crews as well. Lots of thick smoke in that area with west winds right now picking up. We are expecting things to stay breezy in this area for at least the next couple of hours. Right now we have west winds at 16 miles per hour. They are expected to stay right around that until about 7 o'clock tonight, 7:30, and then gradually die down after sunset. But scorching hot. We hit 119 today. Again, another record-setting day, and even now we are still at 118. Temperatures are not expected to get below 110 until after 9 o'clock tonight. So throughout the evening, as the firefighters continue to battle this blaze, it is going to be dangerously hot. It is incredibly dry, humidity less than 10%, and we've got the breezes to contend with out there now for at least the next couple of hours, Faye.
Certainly challenging circumstances for all of the firefighters involved and really anyone in this neighborhood right now as we continue to watch these live pictures from near 40th Street and Washington of this propane storage facility absolutely going up in flames right now, despite the efforts of so many firefighters there on the scene. We want to get back out to our Ford Hatchett. He's live on the ground right there. And Ford, I know earlier you were saying you could hear those propane tanks exploding, and one of the big concerns is projectiles and how far they may fly.
And that's one of the concerns on the ground here, to be quite honest with you, Faye. We're still waiting to kind of figure out and get some more information. That's been the talker for people that are here just trying to watch these flames. Is some are worried that if they stand too close, is this too close, where some of those projectiles could eventually fly? I'll tell you, we see this black smoke kind of billowing out even more and going up. You heard Amber talk about how it's blowing to the east, but there have been a couple other smaller fires just starting at that palm tree that you saw Jordan take a little bit earlier, and it feels like it's still moving. There are some flames burning just beyond the canal here. And again, this is an area that is just surrounded by several businesses and a community college. Firefighters have really been going at this nonstop, trying to get this under control. We talked to someone who said they were just driving home in their car, running an errand. They saw the smoke and wanted to come over and check it out, had no idea that it was at a propane tank storage facility. They said once they learned that, they wanted to get as far away as possible. But you can see that smoke from blocks away, and you can hear those loud booms. Again, even when you're driving in your car, you could hear them through the windows. They have slowed down a little bit since we've arrived on scene, but every couple of minutes we are still hearing that loud bang. And again, firefighters coming at this from every angle. You've seen both ladders up trying to attack this, and we're just trying to get some more information about those projectiles you mentioned and what the danger may be like. We know there are some businesses around. Our team talked to someone working at a hotel nearby. They said they have not evacuated yet. You heard Todd Keller mention earlier that those evacuations could be coming. They're still working on it. Phoenix Fire doing everything they can to get this under control.
Yeah, we were just showing pictures at the same time with the flames on the left, and then we had a smaller picture of the animals being evacuated from a nearby animal shelter, and we'll continue to monitor that as well and work to get any information we can on that. Want to go out to Ashley Holden now. She's also standing by there on scene. Ashley, where are you, and what can you tell us from your vantage point?
We are near 41st Place and Van Buren, and you can see the smoke just billowing behind me. We just heard another loud bang that Ford has been describing, Jordan has been describing, and you can see that smoke just start to billow up. At one point when we got here, I thought we might have to move because we were seeing what Amber was describing as this wind is kind of carrying this smoke this way, and we were starting to kind of see that come our direction. So far, we have stayed a safe distance away, and you can see that we have Phoenix police here on scene directing traffic here, so people are exiting off of Van Buren and onto 41st Street Place. Now here's another one of those bangs. I do want to mention, as we have been here on scene in just the last few minutes, we have seen Tempe Fire, another fire truck showing up here at the scene. You guys have been mentioning what other businesses are around this area. Right by me is a concrete company that you can see. You can also see that it looks like there is a hotel that is right here, and then kind of another business complex. But this smoke continues to just kind of billow up near our direction, and those bangs that everyone has been describing, we are hearing those. I think we have a really good view of this aerial attack that is going on right now. We can see those two fire trucks, those two ladders up, dumping water onto this fire. And as we heard, there's another really loud bang, as we heard from Phoenix Fire. And as we have been saying, stay close to the news, stay close to social media, because evacuations may take place. And you were hearing Jordan saying that he was hearing over an intercom that being announced. This smoke continuing to really billow towards us here. We're getting a really good view of this. And again, we're going to monitor this, and we might have to move because it really is, we've been seeing it shift from where I'm standing to the left and then kind of towards our direction as well. So we're going to keep an eye from where we are at. Do you guys have any questions back in the studio from where I'm standing?
I was just going to say, I know you've covered many fires. What does it smell like out there right now?
It still smells kind of like what you smell when you arrive at the scene of a house fire, but much bigger, I would say. And there's things that are different, right? We're not typically hearing those bangs. We've covered large fires. I've actually covered large apartment fires as well, but this is quite a lot of smoke that you are seeing. But in terms of smell, it just kind of seems multiplied. Nothing that would, as we've been mentioning, this is a hazardous material, but nothing that would signal to you so far that is what is taking place. So as you've heard, people have been coming up, and we actually had some people coming up to us saying, oh my gosh, what is on fire? Some people don't know yet because it really just they see a lot of smoke.
Any conditions that you're feeling too? We know that sometimes conditions can be itchy eyes, burning throat. Are you feeling any of those symptoms being close to the fire?
There was another loud bang. No, not yet. Thankfully, the wind continues to kind of shift and blow the smoke this way. We were starting to kind of breathe it in a little bit, and I was worried we'd have to move because I have been in situations where the smoke has made it difficult to move, and I've had fire crews tell me, get back, because it's going to be hard to breathe. So far, we have not had any of those symptoms, but if we feel them, again, we have been telling everyone to keep a safe distance away, and we are going to do that as well. But you're seeing we have more fire crews here, it looks like, pulling up to this hotel. This is Tempe. We have a police officer here who's actually telling another man who's on the corner, who's walking, that he needs to leave because of all this smoke. It's very close to him, and they are just concerned for his safety. And again, traffic coming off of here as well. So lots happening right where we are standing, and again, that water continues to be dumped right there on that fire.
You appreciate this live report in your 41st place, talking about what you're seeing firsthand. But as Ashley mentioned, she's close to nearby businesses, also including a hotel. Melissa Blasius joining us in studio. I know that you have some new information regarding maybe a hotel, but also a little bit more.
Sure. Well, we did talk to a woman who was at front desk reception at a place called Western Lodge, Phoenix Airport, a hotel. She said as of a few minutes ago, they weren't specifically being evacuated there. However, she did see the large plume of smoke. She also said she saw a lot of cars leaving from the Gateway Community College area, as we know that they are evacuating people in this area. I also did speak to a spokesperson from Sky Harbor Airport, and what she told me was that this, at this point, is not impacting airport operations. Airport operations are going on, although if you are trying to get to and from the airport, definitely try to take a different path other than that kind of Washington, Jefferson, 40th Street area. You still saw those cars just going through behind Ashley, trying to either get out of the way or move on. It is rush hour right now. In addition, we are looking into exactly what company is here. We did find a business listing tied with the address where this fire is, saying it's Bill's Propane Service, indicating that it may have been in business a long time, founded in 1974. We are trying to find the ownership of that and see what we can learn from them. In addition, we're looking into possible regulation of places like propane businesses, who inspects these, who makes sure that they're safe and fire safe. Sometimes that could be state regulators or the fire department. We are looking into that right now. Last but not least, I wanted to tell you that I did talk to a spokesperson for the city of Phoenix about the evacuations, because there are a number of homes that are in this general vicinity. If people can't get back to their homes or they're being evacuated, about whether or not there's going to be any shelter services set up. So we're looking into that. We'll get back to you if we hear back from him on that.
Investigator Melissa Blasius, thank you for looking into that.
Want to get back down on the ground at the scene right there. Let's check in with our Jordan Bonke again.
Yeah, hey guys, that was just the police officer. They said that the media staging area right now is going to be 40th Street and Fillmore. 40th Street and Fillmore is where the media staging area, but I'm standing next to Sylvester Becerra. You work at a valet nearby.
Correct.
You saw some of this, you heard some of this. What did you see? What did you hear?
Yeah, we were just inside the office, and one of our coworkers heard some explosions continuously. He just decided to go outside, and he realized, well, that's when he saw the huge fire, and then we all just kind of just drove up to the street corner, and we saw it firsthand, and it was outrageous.
I know that you frequent the area because you work over here, but you mentioned, is Speedy's Tacos okay? Like, when you know that your community is out here on these streets and you're seeing these big, non-transparent plumes of black smoke, what does it make you think and feel, knowing that this is the urgent situation that's happening near your workplace?
Yeah, this is a really unfortunate situation. I was really afraid for the animals in the shelter, so I'm really glad that they're being taken care of. But yeah, that was a big concern just because we're down the street from this. We were wondering if the office and everything was going to be okay. But luckily the fire department is responding, and hopefully they get it under control here soon. Yeah, you sent us some video as well, and we're going to get some of those pictures back out once we get those processed here. What would you describe what you saw? I mean, what you took a picture of there was an explosion. Yeah, it was something I've never experienced before. It's you could feel the heat after every explosion. It was just really crazy. The flames were extremely high. It was just something that I've never seen before, and it was something.
Sylvester, I really appreciate you giving the time. But not only is it hot for them, I mean, we're standing on pavement that's probably 160 degrees. Be safe. Thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it. Yeah, again, 40th Street in Fillmore, just trying to gather a little bit of the color from the people that are out here. Here's a quick shot. Look at this. All these people that are coming out to see this, wanted to make sure that everything's okay. We were able to witness at least one more situation of those animals that were being put in. We're going to send it back to you guys as we're trying to gather a little bit more from we're out here.
Okay, I know that's something that we have been tracking, and we have multiple crews on the scene here right now. Our Ford Hatchett first on the ground there for us. Ford, who do you have with you there?
Yeah, well, this is Lee, and Lee, I guess we'll just jump right into it. You said you saw this, and what was your first thought when you saw all this develop?
Well, the position in this column of smoke, I was concerned it was something that happened at the airport.
Being right here.
Yeah, and with all this heat and talking about shutting the airport down and things like that, that was what my first concern was.
When you got here and found out what exactly was going on, what was the first thing that went through your mind?
Well, just kind of knowing that it was these propane tanks popping and blowing, and you can see the flames shooting up. You know, it's kind of a sideshow, I guess, like, you know.
Well, and since you've been here, we were just talking off camera how we've seen this kind of grow as the firefighters fight it. How quickly is this spreading in your eyes?
It spread pretty quickly. It spread off over here, and now there's another column of smoke, you know, over there, and so it's moving.
Yeah, awesome. And again, we're going to keep it posted here as we continue to watch as firefighters continue to battle these flames right now. We're working to learn more information about what exactly they can do and what may have caused this fire. But as of right now, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Ford, we appreciate it. Brand new information. We've got several crews looking into the areas that are surrounding this massive fire. APS, they have a substation that's located next or very near to the propane fire. Our crews confirming that APS crews are headed to the scene if they're not already there right now. So far, Phoenix Fire has not asked APS to shut down the power at that site, but that could obviously change in a matter of minutes if that's possible. Firefighters, if they need to get that under control, you have to also deal with those power lines. We did hear Jordan Bonke say that there was going to be a media station area at 40th Street and Fillmore. So that's where we're hoping to gather a little bit more information, as this fire has now grown to at least a second alarm fire. And last word was no injuries reported. But we know several places have had to deal with those evacuations, including the Phoenix Rising facility. I believe that's what we got information. Yes. And then we also have cars that have been damaged at that Sundance parking garage. But a multiple agency effort to combat these flames. You have to think about the conditions, this heat, Faye.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the phone right now, one of our viewers who took these amazing images that we've been sharing with you throughout the evening here, you're taking a look at them right now. Thank you so much for taking a moment on the phone with us. Where were you, and what did you see? What did you hear?
Well, basically what was going on is we were sitting inside the hotel lobby, heard a loud boom, thought that maybe somebody had dropped something in the conference room above me, and the boom was literally shaking the entire building. These are powerful propane tanks that are being blasted off, I mean, at least 500 feet into the air, and it was really terrifying. So I went ahead and took an elevator up, saw what was going on, saw there was cars in the parking lot right next door catching on fire as well. So we went ahead and left the hotel just to be safe. We were right on the edge of the 1 mile perimeter of where they were actually clearing everybody out. But the firefighters, they really went in there super fast, and we're just hoping that everyone turns out okay.
Absolutely. We are here as well. And thank you for sending this video in to us, because it really gives us some incredible perspective on how intense the flames were here, and that thick black smoke just pouring into the sky. And this fire continues to rage. And
we are so glad that you are safe as well, and you got to a safe vantage point in order to take this video, because it does help us paint a better picture. We appreciate your time. We're going to send it now over to Anthony, who provided us another perspective, another image, if you will. Anthony, thank you for joining us. You're live on ABC15.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, we're okay. We hope that you're safe. Tell us what you saw when you took this video.
Yeah, absolutely. So I happened to be driving down, and it kind of looked like our apartment complex was on fire, because there's this huge plume of smoke, because we live right next, like 2 streets down. And I realized it wasn't, and you know, I kept going, and I saw that it was like something else was on fire, and there were flames shooting up in the air. So I pulled out, parked, and I was kind of watching. I started taking some video, and then all of a sudden there was these huge explosions. It looked like there was this propane tank truck that, was on fire, and it looked like it may have blown a gas line right next to it as well. And it was like one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Anthony, we appreciate you showing us this video. We're going to send it now to our crew out in the field. Jordan Bonke. Jordan, what are you seeing? We're seeing several animals being hauled out into vehicles.
That's exactly what we're looking at right now, and this is something that we've been able to see on and off. Part of us wants to go over there and make sure that everything's okay. Part of me really wants to just go over there and grab one of those guys and get them to wherever they need to be. The other aspect is that's just not safe for us to be over there, as we've been told multiple times from Phoenix Fire that you're shooting at your own risk, as we're trying to find out a plan to get to the media staging area. But yeah, there's an animal facility that's nearby, and I'd like to put trust and faith in humanity that they're going to be able to get these animals into a safe place. It's going to be a hot ground for those paws, but it's going to be a lot safer for them to be on the move than it would for them to be stationary at a place like there when there is a propane fire, an active one, with thick plumes of smoke billowing into the sky like this. So yeah, it looks like there's still 2 firefighters from up above, 2 ladders just surround and drown, and then you're seeing another one over here. In that same vicinity of where our camera is pointed in that direction, you're able to see a palm tree. That caught fire earlier, and then some other shrubbery, some other vegetation that had also caught fire earlier. You heard from Sylvester Becerra earlier. He runs a valet just down the street. He caught some explosions. That's been ended up on my Twitter account. I just shared some of those images over there. You may be able to hear it just now. And then every once in a while, we'll hear the loudspeaker from Phoenix Fire or Phoenix Police asking people to evacuate the area. We have seen fire crews, the furthest that I've seen right now, that's Tempe, is what you're looking at, a Tempe Fire Department truck. We've seen Phoenix, of course, but we did just see a rapid response from Glendale. And these plumes of smoke stretching again from 40th Street all the way down to 143. We just heard from somebody who's hanging out over at that hotel, and they themselves didn't feel safe over there, so they wanted to make a move as well. So that's the image of what we're looking at right now, and we're still trying to gather and figure out exactly what all this is, what's all going on.
Jordan Bonke, we appreciate that live report. And as you can see, some of those firefighters are in their regular garb. That's because they are recycling through their crews because of the extreme heat. That's something that we found out from Phoenix Fire. And then those crews that are battling those fire in the hot zone, they're getting checked out, treated for IVs, their vitals, making sure that they're safe. Yeah. But you can see they're still actively trying to combat that fire.
Yeah, Jordan, if you're still with us, I do have a question for you. We've seen the rescue effort going on for the animals, and we did see, I think you said Tempe firefighters very, very close by where that is. Can you give us a sense of how close the animal shelter is, how close the flames are to the animal shelter, and just your perspective from where you are?
Yeah. Great question. Yeah, I can give you a little bit of color. I'm not exactly, but I'll give you about a football field's distance from where I am. About a football field from that truck where we saw those live pictures of those dogs that were being taken from that truck right there. And we're probably 2 or 3 football fields from the facility, the animal care facility that's right next to this Mesquite Tacos truck right there next to Speedy's Tacos. And then those flames are probably just a little bit further. If I had to guess, and this is this is an area that we work in, we frequent, going up and down Van Buren and Washington, because this isn't far from where our office is. This is probably a block and a half from where we're standing right now. What's good about all this is we haven't seen this fire spread too far, and it does seem like there's so much of a response right now for Tempe, for Glendale, for Phoenix Fire. So that's the lay of the land from where we're standing, and this is not far from, again, 40th Street and Washington right now.
Things when we talk about wildfires, normally the concern is spot fires. A spark goes flying and then it starts a secondary fire and a third fire, and those can be spread all over. Does it appear from your vantage point that we're still dealing with one massive fire here, or are we starting to see smaller fires in the area as well?
I'm gonna go get some water.
Oh, okay. I don't think Jordan heard us, but he's doing what is safe right now. He's staying hydrated because he's been live on the air for us for the last hour or so, making sure that he's giving us those updates. But hydration is so key.
118 degrees out there still.
Yes, and so you heard Melissa Blasius give us this information. They believe that this fire started at Bill's propane service. This is a propane fire, and this is a hazmat situation with everything impacted nearby. Several cars have been damaged, evacuations are in order, and multiple agencies are on the ground attacking this fire at all different angles. The term that Captain Todd Keller used was the surround and drown.
Right, and
tactic.
some of the nearby businesses that have been impacted, we know that the Phoenix Rising headquarters has been evacuated. The Sundance Airport parking lot area, there are some cars that have sustained some damage as a result of this. Firefighters and police officers have pushed people back from this area. Obviously, this fire continues to burn. It is a propane storage facility, and our live coverage will continue.
This is 40th Street and Washington right now. There's a truck right here that we've seen multiple different dogs taken out, and yeah, it's going to be hot on their paws and they're going to be scurried away really quickly. We've seen multiple different fire agencies, Tempe, even as far as Glendale. Earlier when we got out here, like right at 5 o'clock or just past 5 o'clock, we saw a palm tree immediately catch fire, and we now have seen a fire truck connected to a fire hydrant over there. There's two ladders just a little bit, this would be west of us, that are just coming down. But we've heard the term surround and drown because that's kind of the attack plan right now from the fire department. We've also heard from a nearby business manager. He works with a valet. He shared with us some videos of some of those explosions that we've been having. We've heard them ourselves. This is a propane fire. We've had Phoenix police officers come right up to us right here and say, you are filming at your own risk right now. They give us a media staging point at 40th and Fillmore. We can go get more information, and that's something that we're processing, trying to get a crew over to that location as well. And again, we want to go and try and see if we can't get any more information, but we know the dire situation of where we're at. These hoses have been on the entire time that we've been here. Not to mention, we're in the middle of a historic heat wave right now. Over 20 days that we're in of temperatures of a consistent 110 degrees. So the pavement that I'm standing on, and I'm surprised my shoes haven't even started melting, because this right now has got to be 160 degrees. When I came out earlier, we were doing a segment just to show on things that are melting in this type of temperature. But yeah, that's the situation of what we're looking at just from this vantage point. And this is the last thing that I'll leave you with here. These plumes of smoke, usually when we come to a fire, these things are attacked and responded to really quickly, and you can kind of see through some transparent smoke. That's not the case here. This is thick plumes of smoke billowing into the sky, stretching from 40th Street in Washington all the way down to 143. This is just a little bit north of the airport. There's other crews that are out there. We want to send it to them. We'll send it back to you guys, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the airport there. If you are headed to the airport, allow yourself extra time as roads are very busy out there right now. Let's get right to ABC15's Ford Hatchett with the very latest on this fire. Ford?
I hear Jordan mention that normally you see that kind of transparent smoke that you can see through, and one of the things that's struck me from our vantage point is these dark clouds that continue to rise, they seem to be popping up in different locations, right? As soon as firefighters seem to get something under control at one spot, there's another spot that becomes a problem. We saw that palm tree go up in flames away from the initial fire earlier, and you're still continuing to hear those loud booms coming from this propane tank storage facility. We don't know exactly what those are, but I think everyone's mind kind of wanders and thinks about what could that be, and are there explosions? Do we need to move? Is shrapnel an issue? We're expecting an update from the fire department here very soon as they continue to surround and drown this. You're going to hear that over and over today as they get on every side of this fire and try to just come down with as much water as possible. Again, firefighters, we see them on the ladders here, still working very hard to just get water on top of this and get this under control as that smoke continues to blow. Again, this is right near Gateway Community College. There's the animal shelter that Jordan was just talking about. There are some businesses in here that, again, worry for some of those animals and other people around, and the fire department doing everything they can to keep this under control. And we're going to hopefully learn a little bit more about what exactly started this and why this is continuing to go as long as it is in these hot temperatures. It is very hot out here, and those firefighters have to continually rotate because they only have so much air in those tanks.
Yeah, one of the things that they do often when we see fires, but boy, never in 118 degrees. This is a business that's popular for propane gas and kerosene products, both to commercial and residential properties as well. But you can see this large plume of smoke, and people can see it across Phoenix during this rush hour.
Absolutely. We have multiple cameras right now, all trained on the incredible flames and smoke coming from this fire right now near 40th Street and Washington. Our crews have been all over this, various vantage points throughout the afternoon and the evening hours. Some of the businesses impacted, we can tell you, Phoenix Rising headquarters. We know those were evacuated. Also, a nearby parking garage used for the airport, the Sundance Airport parking garage. We know some vehicles have been damaged at that location right now. And then, of course, that animal shelter that we've been talking about so much, Katie, evacuations ongoing there of the animals, and Tempe firefighters assisting with this, standing by and monitoring to make sure that those evacuations can be done safely.
Yeah, that evacuation of those animals done by the AZ Animal Welfare League right now, doing their very best to get those animals out of there. But you're seeing this thing fought from the sky right there. And we can check in with Captain McDade right now, who is out there on the scene. First of all, thank you for taking time with us. What more can you tell us about what's happening out there?
Yes, thank you. I am just west of the fire. You see those elevated pipes. I am right behind them. I can tell you that updated from the owner of this propane field out here, storage facility, they said they were at 70% capacity. So that's quite a bit of fuel, quite a bit of tanks. I can tell you that a lot of them have exhausted their fuel. I'm standing in a parking lot of shrapnel. There's pieces of propane tanks all over this parking lot from the earlier large explosions. There are still explosions going off right now, but we believe that we've surrounded enough of that propane area. We will still get propane fires from this, but that building that you see, that's the building. That is the Bill, I believe it's called Bill's Propane. That's their offices and headquarters, unfortunately. Now, a little dynamic is, if you look, we've got cars in that parking lot. All cars want to do is catch on fire, right? They're easily the rubber from the tires, the upholstery. We're trying to cool off those cars because just beyond those cars on that east side there is a small substation, either from APS or SRP. Obviously, that's something that we are protecting with water. But again, very dynamic scene. Fast forward to where we are now from where it started. We've now got our what we call surround and drown, right? We've got our ladder pipes up. We've got 4 of them up right now, protecting the exposures. But again, very dangerous area. This is one of those highly challenging fires. Not to mention, we're right next to light rail and Sky Harbor International Airport.
Rob, do you guys have a sense of how many propane tanks were at this facility and any idea of what ignited this?
So I wish I had better information on that. I could say that just from the naked eye, I mean, we've got hundreds of propane bottles, right? And then you've got propane tanks, right? The trucks that you see, the trucks on the side with the giant tanks that come refill the smaller, 300-gallon propane tanks. We've got one of those that's on fire. Again, they'll off gas, they'll catch on fire, they'll reignite. So for us right now, if we don't have an ability to turn off that gas, which we don't, it's too volatile to put our folks in that yard. what we're doing is rapidly cooling it, hoping that we can keep that temperature down.
Rob, thank you so much for taking time for us. We're going to check in with the press briefing right now. Thank you.
We're going to get an update from Phoenix Fire.
Hey, what did you bring? Talk about this prop right here.
So,
we
have ladder 9 adjusting your stream just a little bit to the south and to the west a little.
If you could
Scott Douglas, Captain Paramedic, Public Information Officer at the Phoenix Fire Department. We're out here today at 40th Street in Van Buren. Crews were dispatched initially around 5 p.m. for reports of a propane plant on fire. At this time, crews arrived. They were able to establish a water supply, verified that there were multiple propane tanks exploding on scene. As you can see here, this is one of the propane tanks that exploded right by one of our fire trucks. So we have hundreds of propane tanks scattered throughout the area, hence the reason we have isolated, evacuated, and denied entry to any of the buildings in the area. At this time, crews are letting the propane tanks off gas and extinguishing a structure fire just north of the scrapyard, where also there's a scrapyard as well as the propane tank business. No injuries have been reported at this time. We do have fire investigators on scene. Once we're able to enter the hazard zone to investigate the cause and origin of this fire, crews are doing a great job to make sure that this does not spread to neighboring businesses, and we're taking a layered approach to make sure that our crews have enough opportunities to recycle and rehab in this extreme temperature. Any questions?
We know that we were over just a few streets over, and we were told that there was a very big concern about the fire spreading. We're seeing some people come out and be concerned at the smoke.
Yeah.
What is your message to them, and are you concerned that the fire could spread?
Absolutely. So at this time, if you're far enough away from the fire with this type of heat, it's important for people to remember to just shelter in place. If we need you to evacuate, we will let you know. At this time, people are self-evacuating, and that's fine if that's what they choose to do, but we encourage them to stay in an air-conditioned environment. Obviously, with smoke like this, embers can travel, so we're going to do the best we can to mitigate any form of spot fires that might turn up. At this time, we don't have any reports of any other structures on fire, and crews are doing a good job to monitor the area with the patrol to make sure that we don't have any other structure fires happen.
And you don't know the cause. Where did this originate from? Do you guys have any idea?
So the initial reports was that a propane business had propane tanks that were on fire and that they were burning. Why they started on fire, we don't know. And our investigators with the Phoenix Fire Investigations Task Force will do a great job to verify where and how they started on fire.
Can you talk a little bit about the dangers of those propane tanks exploding? Is there a concern that they
Absolutely.
could fall on people,
Absolutely.
homes or cars, damage any other
Yeah, so we have evidence of propane tanks up to 500 yards past the ground zero where this is actually happening. So there's absolutely a concern. Our partners with Phoenix PD are doing a great job to make sure that they keep everybody out of the immediate hazard zone and the nearby area. They're using caution and hazard tape as well as securing the streets to make sure that we don't have any of these propane tanks land on anybody and nobody gets hurt.
With so many propane tanks, obviously they're exploding. Can you walk us through what the next 3 to 6 hours may look like? Is this going to be an intense
Sure.
firefight?
So what happens with these types of propane tanks is they have a bleeder valve. That allows, when they catch on fire, to bleed until all of the propane actually exits the bottle. The challenge here is we have very, very large, probably 400 or 500 gallon propane tanks as well that we use to fill these types of things. So we need to let those bleed out. And the concern, obviously, we don't want those to get so hot that they would explode. As long as they're venting with the fire, then they're safe. And we're doing a good job of keeping the containers cool with ladder trucks, as you can see, spraying water on those large propane tanks as well as on the structure just to the north that's on fire.
Is it possible, with the extreme temperatures that we're having right now, is it possible, I know that you guys are still investigating, that heat could have played a factor on this market?
At this time, it's too early to tell. These types of fires can start any time of year, so we really don't know. It wouldn't be safe for me to say. People have propane tanks in this type of heat all day, every day in the city of Phoenix. So we don't know that that's what caused it. We do know that the heat is playing a factor on the resources that are here, the people that live in the community, and so we do want to make sure that our firefighters are getting enough rest, water, recycle, and rehab throughout this incident, and making sure that the people as well are staying safe and out of the hazard zone.
We know that the Arizona Animal Welfare League is in the path of this. We've heard, thank goodness, that they've reported they evacuated all the animals, which is great. What can you tell us about the parking? There's like a business that people park temporarily and go to the airport. A lot of cars are there. Do you know anything about that?
So at this time, when I left the scene, we did have a parking lot that the airport uses for traffic to their facility. There was smoke that was passing over those cars. I don't have any information on that at this time. Hopefully it's just smoke and it passes by those vehicles. I did not see any vehicles on fire when I was over there.
When we're hearing those bangs, is it one of these exploding, and then that could possibly send shrapnel, things like that, out?
So as you see here, this tank blevied, so it exploded, and this is where it ruptured, right? So we have hundreds of these scattered around the area, as well as very, very large ones. So there's several that are in pieces over there. So absolutely shrapnel is a concern, hence the exaggeration on our part to make sure that everybody's out of the area and safe.
And just so I'm understanding, there you said hundreds of those bigger tanks. Are the bigger tanks a big concern if they catch fire? Have they caught fire?
They're burning right now. Yeah, we have at least 2 that I saw that were burning. So, but they are off-gassing. So as long as the fire is coming out of that bleeder valve, then we're not concerned that it's going to explode because we have water on it keeping the tank cool. So everything is going as to plan in a situation like this from our side. Now we just want to make sure that we get all of the fuel out of all of these tanks before we can go in and evaluate the scene.
We were hearing that those bigger tanks may have been as full as about 70% full.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been to this facility, so I don't know how full they were. I haven't spoken with any of the responsible parties for the business yet, but our investigators are speaking with them, so they'd have more details as far as how much fuel they could have been up to 100% for all we know. So we just need to give them time to bleed off.
How long could it take to bleed off those big tanks like that?
It could definitely be hours. Yeah, we could be here for several hours tonight. This might be a long campaign fire that we're going to be out here on. Phoenix Fire is obviously very comfortable with things like this. We do this every day in the city of Phoenix, especially in the summer months when things get really hot. So we're prepared to handle this incident and taking a very safe approach to make sure that everybody's safe. Did you have a question?
Yes. Any concern with the air quality? I know propane isn't something that people want to breathe in.
Well, as of now, the propane's burning off, and so right now we do have smoke that's burning. So I would caution everyone to stay out of the smoke, because the smoke is a toxic fume, and we want to make sure that people aren't getting that in their skin, breathing it in. Stay indoors if you're anywhere near that smoke.
We saw Tempe was here. What else? What are other agencies are here?
Absolutely. So we've got a great mutual aid partnership with the surrounding cities. So Tempe, Guadalupe. We might have trucks from Mesa. I'm not even sure. Scottsdale might be here. So all of our surrounding partners we work really well with. It's basically like one big fire department, and just to make sure that we work as a team to make sure that this goes out. We train together. We work big fires like this together, so it's like a handshake basis, first name basis when we're dealing with stuff like this. Everybody knows each other, and we know what to do.
Captain, you mentioned the air quality issues. The wind is kind of shifting every once in a while. What is that radius that we could tell people if you're in this vicinity or this area?
I'd say if you were within 5 miles of 40th Street and Van Buren, be advised you could be dealing with some potential smoke in your area. Just try to stay out of that.
I was speaking with at least one person who cannot get back to their home. What would you tell those people? They're probably not going to get back anytime soon?
Sure. So at this time, if the command officers on scene have deemed that house is unsafe, then they won't let them back in. Most likely this fire is going to be put out now. Crews are already starting to get a handle on it. As you see gray and white smoke. That means they're getting water on the structure itself. So that structure is beginning to go out. So I imagine as soon as the structure's out and these propane tanks are all managed, then those people will be able to go home.
I'm not sure if you already answered this, but how many fire trucks and staff are out on the scene right now?
So before we started this interview, we were at a second alarm. So we're expecting approximately 100 firefighters here, probably upwards of 30 to 40 different fire trucks and different apparatus. We do have a command van staged behind me with command officers from Phoenix Fire, Phoenix PD, and any of the important local stakeholders that would need to be a part of this. And we're going to work with the city officials to make sure that, like we talked about, air quality, any runoff from water, things along those lines are all going to be mitigated and handled in the most appropriate way.
We're still seeing planes take off and land behind us at Sky Harbor. I know that would be up to them, but any update on that? Nothing has changed so far?
Absolutely, yeah. So Phoenix Sky Harbor has their own PIO, so they're going to go ahead and answer that. We've reached out to them. We've made contact with them. They understand the situation. So at this time, I haven't gotten any updates as far as what their procedures are going to be moving forward. But I would encourage you to reach out to their PIO and they can answer any of those questions.
Captain, you may have answered this. Obviously 115 degrees. For people not living in Phoenix that aren't familiar with what happens here just about every summer, is this the first big fire incident? Can we expect more? Can you kind of break down where we're at when it comes to these kind of commercial fires?
Yeah, absolutely not our first one this summer. Speaking of people that maybe have moved here, we do have a lot of transplant folks that have moved here from out of state, people that might be spending their first summer or second summer in the city of Phoenix. Well, this is hot and they're starting to see what happens. So big fires like this are definitely going to happen occasionally throughout the city, and we encourage everybody to manage your hydration, stay out of the heat. If you're going to be out working, people that just moved here, if you're going to be outside doing the early morning hours or in the later evening hours, drink plenty of water, wear appropriate clothing as far as just a safety message. But yeah, we anticipate this is going to be a hot summer for a lot of people that are spending their first time here.
This is more of a technical question about the business. Do you know if the main line was buried, or do you know if it was not?
I don't know. My guess is it would be buried. Most of those propane lines are, but I don't know for sure. I haven't been able to get to the hazard zone and see it yet. When I got close, it was so loud that the hissing and the heat, I wasn't able to get within 200 yards of the fire. So.
How hot does a suit get inside when a firefighter
so
is wearing
our turnouts, yeah, I'm not sure exactly the exact temperature. I know that we do need to manage our work rest cycles though, because guys can get overheated pretty quickly, and our gals as well. So it's important that we make sure that our crews work for maybe 20 minutes, go through a bottle of air, then they come out, get some water if they need an IV. We check their temperatures. We make sure we monitor their vital signs as well to make sure that nobody's overheating and we don't have to send anybody to the hospital.
And is that why we have agencies from different cities coming in to help? Because there are crews that need to be recycled that need that time.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so we're going to continue to monitor this news conference that's going on right now, but we do have some other witnesses who saw what happened here near 40th Street and Van Buren. Want to get to Camilla Curtis right now. She is at Sky Harbor. Camilla?
Hi. Yeah, I'm at work right now. You could see it start over an hour ago, and they were blowing off in the air. All the propane tanks were going off.
Was there any concern that you witnessed there at the airport in terms of flight operations or anything going on there at Sky Harbor?
No, it didn't look like it affected any of the operations here. It looked like it was far enough away. I was actually on the skywalk, but you could see the flames going off in the air. It was pretty high.
Describe what you saw.
Basically, we were just going along the skywalk, and where the swap meet is, right on the other side of the tarmac, you can see just the flames start going up. There's a big pile of dirt right there. And I go up 40th Street every day, so I know the propane lot. So I was a little scared for the animals next door, but I'm glad to hear that they're okay. But yeah, no, just lots of flames, and it was just one explosion after the next for about 20 minutes. So the whole skywalk, everybody stopped and started taking pictures.
Yeah, I'm sure it was all anybody was talking about at the airport at that time.
Yeah, we tend to see a lot over here, so it's the third fire in our neighborhood. I live less than a mile from McDowell, so it's kind of scary. The last one was a 4-alarm fire off Oak a couple weeks ago, so that took down a couple houses.
Yeah, your house is okay? Your neighborhood's okay?
Yeah, my neighborhood, I'm right off Thomas, and yeah, the alleyways are kind of a scary concern for us right now because I don't think people realize how much traffic's going through there, and unfortunately,
and the
all
fire
the dead
concerns.
debris.
Camilla, when you first saw these flames from this just incredibly intense fire at this propane storage facility, and you heard the bangs, did they reverberate all the way to the airport there?
I'm not sure. I wasn't outside at the time. I was inside, but if you were outside, you might have been able to hear it because it is pretty close.
Yeah, just a wild scene. Camilla, thank you so much for taking time with us this afternoon. For those of you who are just getting home from work and wondering what that huge plume of smoke you saw along the 202 was, what we've since learned is Bill's Propane, and that is just between Van Buren and Washington, right across from the Grand Canal right there in 40th Street, creating huge plumes that can be seen across the valley. Those explosions and then this firefight that has happened since have been been going on for almost 2 hours now.
Yeah, and it sounds like that firefight will continue for several more hours, although firefighters expressing a lot of confidence in their efforts out there right now with that multi-city response that has been going on. Let's get back out to our ABC 15's Ashley Holden. Ashley, give us your perspective. What are you seeing now?
A lot better than when we were looking at it just a few streets down. It actually got so dark and we were having police officers tell us to leave, which is really, really smart because we just heard from fire crews. If you live within really 5 miles of this radius, it is really smart to make sure that you're not breathing in this smoke because, again, this is a propane storage facility, and so you could be breathing in some hazardous material. So they're just trying to give everyone that warning to stay out of the smoke. We did kind of get that visual example of those smaller propane tanks, and he was saying that those loud bangs, we're hearing kind of those tanks explode, but they are letting them burn off is what he said, and they have bigger main tanks that they are also now letting burn off. But as he mentioned, he feels very, very confident in what they are doing, and you can see behind us that there is still a lot of smoke, but from my perspective, it does look better. He also touched on just how hot it is, and the fact that what we have been talking about is that they will be recycling these fire crews. So he said they work for about 20 minutes, they'd go through an oxygen tank, they'd come back out, get water, get time off because it is so hot. And when they put on those turnouts is what they call them. I actually put on one today because I was over at a fire in Mesa. I just put on the jacket and it felt to me like a winter coat, a heavy winter coat. So they are battling this fire and these fires around the valley in those. So right now that's what crews are dealing with, and they're still doing that aerial attack, dumping water on this. And I have talked to some people that live closer to this fire than where I'm standing. I talked to a woman, she's been standing over here, she still is here. She was actually in tears. She said, I just want this fire to be over because I live too close and I can't go home. You heard from fire that this could take hours, but hopefully she'll be let back in as they hope to contain this fire more.
Ashley, thank you. We want to get to ABC 15's Luz Delia Caballero now, just on the other side of the fire right there. Luz Delia, you're in a safe place, right? We're seeing lots of smoke behind you there.
We are in a safe place. It's kind of been coming and going. That smoke has been black, thick. You can definitely smell it here in the air. So it is hard to breathe at times, and you can see exactly what the fire captain was talking about, that vertical strategy to attack the fire on the defensive, surround and drown. And this is what we have been seeing on and off. They continue just pouring that water on, and now that smoke is a little less thick. Obviously not as black, but police officers and fire officials telling us to stay right here because they have again let us know that hundreds of propane tanks exploded and they are scattered. And what they are worried about is that they're going to continue to explode, and of course that danger of shrapnel. What you're looking at right now is that smoke continuing to permeate through the area, making it hard for even us to see past maybe a block or two away. So if you are in the area, officials are saying please stay away for your own safety. We are in a safe place and we're observing the fire attack firsthand. Fire trucks continue coming to this area and of course trying to relieve firefighters. It is very, very warm outside. You can only imagine what those firefighters are going through as they are getting closer to the fire and continuing to try to drown those flames. Katie?
More than 100 of them out on scene right now, working in shifts there. Luz Delia, thank you.
Yeah, 116 degrees out there right now still as we take a look at some of the video that came in from earlier, and you can see the intense, thick black smoke and those flames just shooting up from this propane storage facility. Some of those propane tanks flying. We heard from firefighters 500 yards. Let's get out to our Jordan Bonke. And Jordan, one of the storylines that you've been following for us is this animal shelter that's nearby that had to be evacuated.
If you know some of the reporting that I've done personally, I like to share good news, and that is a little bit of something that I like to share. We're just told from our staff who's been diligently trying to call that animal shelter, the Arizona Animal Welfare League, and we did get word that all of the animals are okay. You know, when we tweeted that this was near the Arizona Animal Welfare League, so many people in the replies just started blowing us up. Are the animals okay? Do they need help? What do they need? And you can bet in a community like this one that they're going to get a lot of resources from people who want to help after something like this. That being said, it is great to hear that all the animals are okay, and we got to see some of those animals getting evacuated. Just above that Animal Welfare League, you could see, again, 2 ladders at least just drowned and surround. Well, when you heard that press conference, these are firefighters, these are people that know exactly what they're doing. City of Tempe here responding, putting up another one of those ladders in the air right over here. Here's a little bit more good news. Since we've been out here since 5 o'clock, all we've seen is thick, black, billowing smoke just filing into the air, and you really couldn't see through it. Like we mentioned about, usually there's a little bit of transparency. Finally, we're just starting to see some of that transparency, and this comes after we heard pops and explosions. We had witnesses come out to us and share with us that they heard some of those explosions as well. It was a really urgent scene there for about an hour and a half. Kind of made you forget a little bit about the heat because of just how urgent this was over here. An officer came right up to us and said, film at your own risk, guys. And the same thing for the evacuations down the street with the loudspeaker. During that press conference, you heard anybody who can see this smoke, they're asking just as an enormous precaution right now, just to shelter in place. But I think if there's one thing to take away from this moment right now, and so many people have reached out to us about the animals and all our furry family members, you know, that they're so important for us in our community, is they are okay. And that is something that is we are glad to report right now, that the animals are okay. Here's something that's you know, for what it's worth. That's the Walter Station Brewery. It was once a firehouse in the area, so this is an area that has a quick response. And again, probably 100 firefighters or more from just surrounding valley cities. Tempe right there as well. So that's the lay of the land. The fires were spreading in that area. They've stopped since. You can see like the pooling and the puddling water right here along the street. Yeah, so it's good to know that things that seem to have, just from our vantage point, and we can't really get too much closer from where we are right now before being asked to get back. Again, shelter in place for some of the people who live in the area. But it's good to know that the animals are okay, and whatever was on fire over there earlier, we saw a palm tree on fire, that has since been extinguished, and they're still trying to focus a lot of that energy and that effort. So that's 3 now. 1, 2, 3 different ladders that are just drowning on some of these propane tanks. This was such a scary situation. So some notes from the press conference going on for several hours. And, you know, again, these are firefighters who know what they're doing. They mentioned this is going on as planned. They're trying to stop this fire from spreading. And again, that vegetation over there, at least 2 things catching on fire. Some of the things that caught fire before our very camera. Propane explosions. We had somebody who was part of a valet service over here who sent us video, something that we were able to tweet out earlier of some of those explosions. This looks like a scene from an action movie, you know. But again, here's what that looks like right now. Some of this smoke at one point was right over here on 40th Street in Washington, stretching all the way to 143. And there is a gust, and here's a good illustration of that gust. If you look close at that firefighter right up there, that's how powerful the wind is, because you can see that wind right now that's starting, it's heading east right now. You can see that it's actually catching and kind of pushing back. So it almost looks like he's blowing that into the wind. And that black smoke is starting to get a little bit more white and a little bit more clear. That's what we're able to see from our vantage point right now. And like, yeah, if you see a firefighter in your community here in the coming days, just thank them, because the ground that we're standing on, this has got to be at least 160 degrees. Talking to the burn center, you can get 2nd, 3rd degree burns just if you put your skin on something like this. So just something to keep in mind, to give a little bit of gratitude to the people who have to come out to this type of stuff. We're going to send it back to you guys for now.
Yeah, it's incredible the work that they do. We talked earlier about that mutual aid partnership that all of our firefighting departments have here, that in a situation like this, they're able to work as one department. And that also means that your house is safe. Let's say there's another fire that happens and you need to call for resources. You are not left uncovered because they share that mutual partnership and are able to cover the whole valley, while 100 firefighters are just covering this one spot.
Yeah, and our coverage continues, our team coverage continues on this incredible fire that is burning near 40th Street in Washington right now. Let's get out to ABC15's Ashley Holden. And Ashley, the smoke seems to be dissipating a little bit from your vantage point as well. It's not as thick and black as it was. It seems to be lightening up, clearing up a little bit, but there has been some concern from firefighters that this is toxic and they do not want it on people's skin. They don't want people breathing this in.
Light rail, we have an airport, we have water.
Yeah, and you know, we were pretty close to that smoke, just a few streets over, and as it kind of started moving into our area, there were people that were out, that were taking videos, that were looking, trying to figure out what was going on. At that point, they didn't know that this was a hazardous material, and so we were letting them know, hey, you might not want to be in that smoke, and fire is reminding people of that. If you live close to this area, they said 5 miles, just make sure you're not in that smoke, as you guys mentioned, on your skin as well. But you can see that it does look a lot better, even from when we talked to you last time. I think it is getting thinner, and you can see that they are still just continuing to dump water. You can see those 2 trucks there pouring water on this fire here, but you can see where we're standing, there are still police officers that are blocking this area off. We haven't seen them letting people back in yet, even though the smoke is starting to thin. And I am about to talk to some people here that live in this area that have been watching this kind of take place. They told me that they have some videos that they're going to share with me as well. So I'm going to get their feedback. We'll come right back to you live as soon as we hear from them.
Yeah, Katie, just mentioning the wind there. I don't think your mic was up, but the wind really blowing that smoke to the east over the last couple of hours. The one thing I want to mention here is that this is the wide vantage point that I've been watching for about the last hour and 45 minutes. And for much of that time, huge plume of thick black smoke going either straight up or pushing to the east. And as you can see now, there's not a whole lot of that left. There's also been planes flying in the whole time and landing safely at Sky Harbor. So as we've mentioned before, we are unaware of any interruptions to service at Sky Harbor. And again, from this vantage point, you can see the planes getting in just fine. At this point, it is still sizzling hot, though. So that's the biggest concern for fire crews out there. We are still at 116 degrees. That's coming off of our high of 119 today. Another record-setting day. Winds over the last hour and a half have picked up 2 after remaining pretty light throughout the day. They're now out of the west at 18 miles per hour. That was driving the smoke to the east when the fire was still going strong. I do expect the breezes to continue here for the next couple of hours. Lighter winds after sunset, but we've got a hot night ahead, and as long as fire crews out there, this heat is going to be dangerous. We are still expecting to be above 110 through about 9 o'clock tonight, and in the triple digits even into the overnight hours.
Still 1 a.m. I see there at 102. That's just wild, Amber.
Yeah. And you speak of wild, take a look at this video. This is from earlier. This is Yaya Martinez video. She sent this in to us. Yaya, you're on the phone with us now, and I understand you were at a nearby hotel and you saw the flames erupt.
Yeah, we actually felt the big booms of the propane tanks whenever it first ignited, and it was a pretty scary feeling because you think, okay, is this an earthquake happening in Arizona or is something bigger going on? And it just blew up. Like everything just caught on fire so fast. From what I'm looking at right now, they actually have 5 water cannons, and I counted about 11 fire trucks out here. The building with the red shutters is catching on fire off and on, so it looks like that's what they're actually trying to get out at this moment. There's not really too many civilian cars around other than that airport parking place, which I feel really bad for those people that are coming home from trips and they're going to see their cars toast. But as long as everyone's okay, I think it's one of those situations that with the heat, you're just going to be dealing with these hot temperatures as well as fighting a fire with igniting gas. It's just one of the most unsafe situations you could possibly be in. They hit every single marker on a bingo card of the worst fire that you could possibly have.
What's the smoke like from your vantage point right now? Because, again, we're taking a look at your video right now, and we saw just how thick and black it was when this fire first erupted and just the intensity of those flames. Firefighters, again, pouring a ton of water on this. The phrase we keep hearing is surround and drown. What does it look like from your vantage point?
So it looks like the tan building with the red awnings on it is catching on fire. So it is black at the moment, but they keep going at it with the water cannons from this side of it, I believe from the west side. They're trying to get it out from that side. And then there's another water cannon on the opposite end, the east end, that is actually pointed at a dumpster that keeps reigniting as well. So they're trying their best to get this building fire out, but it looks like that building also caught on fire, of course, because as high as the flames were, it's kind of impossible to avoid that type of structure fire.
I Were you staying at the hotel or working at the hotel? And have you ever seen anything like this?
Guess what? I'm actually a radio personality. I drove in from Tucson to enjoy the Morgan Wallen concert, and we were meeting our boss here at this hotel just to do a little powwow, have some drinks, and we're stuck at the hotel. We can't get our vehicle out. Ubers can't make it in, so I think we're actually going to be heading back to Tucson because it's just too hot. This is a sign that we should go home.
Well, you've just revealed it because I thought she is so good at describing this. This is exactly what it looks like out there. Just such excellent color in what's happening out there. So we appreciate your perspective. Glad you guys are safe. Sorry to ruin your trip for all this.
Scary. It was a little scary at first just because of the vibrations and booms. And then, of course, you don't want anybody, unfortunately to pass away from something this bad that's uncontrollable. But I think these firefighters are doing the best that they can with, from what I can see, about 11 or 12 trucks. And it looks like they're close to containing that building fire with the red shutters or whatever it looks like. It looks like they're starting to put it out. I don't see any active flames right now. They're just pouring it on. So hopefully they can get this out within like the next hour or so. But they're doing a great job containing it.
Yeah. At the hotel where you are, did you have firefighters or police officers come and tell everybody to shelter in place, or were people still able to come and go?
From what I see, they did keep people at a safe distance whenever the fire first erupted because it was really high. There was a lot of, obviously propane bottles flying all over the place because they were exploding about 500 feet into the air. But everyone relatively kind of just, trusted their instincts. I went inside. I'm scared. I take a video and then I'm running inside because I'm not chancing anything. But the police officers and firefighters did a great job of shutting down the street right away. And they have their hoses going across. I believe this is Van Buren. So they kind of have a perimeter already. So you can't really get in and out of this area. So they kept everybody pretty safe.
Well, we appreciate the pictures that you sent over. You're going to have quite a story when you head home. You thought the concert would be the wildest thing you saw here. So glad you're safe. Travel home safely. And we so appreciate you taking time with us tonight.
Of course. No problem. Have a great night.
You too.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Let's get back out to ABC 15's Jordan Bonnke. Jordan, how's it looking from your vantage point? It certainly seems like the smoke is really dissipating now.
Yeah, it really is. And again, when we got out here at 5 o'clock, it almost looked like an action movie. This is like an Oppenheimer type movie trailer, right? It was black smoke and it was stretching from 40th Street down to 143, perhaps even further, with regular gusts in the area. That has now turned into a little bit more of a transparent situation. You're starting to see some of that white smoke, but there's still gusts. That played a little bit of a role earlier when you saw that huge smoke that's spreading fires and some of those palm trees that caught over here. One thing that we have noticed in the past couple of minutes, SRPs over here. Anytime there's been a fire in the area, and there's plenty of power lines. This is right here near Washington and Van Buren, near 40th Street and 40th Place, where we're standing exactly as 40th Place, is sometimes the power goes out. That's something for us to check on. One piece of good news that we can share is that the Arizona Animal Welfare League, they did report back to us that all of the animals that were in this facility over here, they are okay. We had pictures of those animals, and yes, this is some hot pavement, but it's going to be a quick, urgent walk to get for them to safety. They need to make sure that they shelter in place too. That is something that we are really happy to share as well. There's the power company. I'm sorry, that's the gas company rather, not SRP. That's the gas company. But here's the wind, and this is the good example of exactly how strong that wind is when you look at this. This is one of the newer ladders that it's coming down. We heard the surround and drown type attack plan. But yeah, that smoke, it's really dissipated. You can start to see through it really well right now. During that press conference, you're hearing that there's hundreds of firefighters that are over here. I don't know if you can hear that.
Cannot come any farther.
Yeah, don't come any farther.
Black shorts, please stop. You need to turn around.
Yeah, so they're asking people, anyone who's crossing the street right now, they're saying, turn around, you're not going this way. Haven't seen a car pass through this street right now until there was an officer who said, if you're going to be over here, you're filming at your own risk right now. If you live within 5 miles in the area, they're asking you to try and shelter in place right now. We're going to send it back to you guys here right now. That's what we're seeing from our vantage point. I think the cops are talking to us.
Okay, maybe we'll let you get out there safely, Jordan, and I'll pick up your cue on that. He was asking about any SRP power outages. There is not an outage in that area right now. There are 2 across the valley, but not related to this fire.
We are going to let our crews take a moment and regroup. We're going to come back with much more coverage, including a live interview with Phoenix firefighters.